Hi, this is Kelly. Welcome to my channel. Today I have 3 new vampire-inspired dark Gothic Halloween DIYs. DIY number 1, Whispers in the Crypt. Another little gem I picked up thrifting, this little shadow box. It had a floral arrangement inside it, and it's got those 2 little nails or tacks in there. So we're going to cut a piece of poster board to decoupage our image on, because I don't want to decoupage right on top of those little tacks. And I've painted it entirely black chalk paint, and now I've got this vintage. And I used a little blue painter's tape, and I'm just getting that little section of it painted with that blue-gray. There we go. And it wasn't perfect, but that's okay, because once we just dress it back and forth, you cannot tell. So first I'm going to take a little black chalk paint and distress over top of that blue. And then I'm going to take the blue-gray, whatever you want to call it, this vintage color. I love this color. It's not quite blue, not quite gray. And we're going to hit all the black areas with that. And then we'll go back and do the sides. So this is, like I said, a piece of poster board I cut to fit inside the square, and I painted it black. And here's our image of this coffin. Now look at the colors. It's like the exact colors of the paint. And we Mod Podge that on, and then our top coat, and we let that dry. Now I'm going to take a little bit of the vintage color and just catch the edges and dry brush over top where the black is showing. I just got a little bitty chip brush there. And now I'm going to take some Aleene's tacky glue and get that all down in there and place our image over the glue. I love that tacky glue. It's so nice. It gives you time to adjust, but it grabs it so it's not sliding around everywhere when you're trying to do. And we're just gonna make sure we get it. We're gonna use the end of our paintbrush to press it down in the corners and make sure it goes down in there. Isn't that cool? So there is a damaged spot at the very top right corner there. I'm going to cover that with a bat here in a minute. But I didn't glue anything on the inside because that's one of those little LED candle lights. You need to be able to pick it up, turn it on and off. So I just tucked it in there with some, I painted it black and tucked it in there with some black Spanish moss. And that way you can just take it out and turn it on and off. So I covered that bad spot on the box with a bat. And we're going to put a couple more bats here and there. I thought this turned out so cute. And you can put anything you want. It's a shadow box. You can forget the light. There's little tombstones. They're little air dry clay tombstones and bats that I made. And I just tucked them in the moss. And that's it. DIY number 2, the Forgotten Graveyard. Another thrifted frame. I thought it resembled a tombstone. It's pretty cool. I've already painted the back. And I'm using this folk art terracotta, lightly textured acrylic paint in the color concrete. And the first coat, I just brush it on. This is the first time I've ever used this. But it is similar to using the paint mixed with the baking soda. And like I said, I just brushed on the first coat. The second coat, you see here, I'm dabbing it on. Because you can see, if you look on the right side, where you can kind of see some texture and then some's missing, dabbing it on is the best way. So here it's all done. And we put that aside to dry. And then we'll come back with some black chalk paint. And we'll just pick up all those rough details. Age it a little bit. This is just a piece of poster board. I'm going to glue my graveyard image or Mod Podge my graveyard image to this piece of poster board. Of course, it wants to roll all up on me. Let me just get that on there. The backing piece there, I painted that black. And another coat of Mod Podge on top. Let that dry. Put it back in the frame. And now I'm going to add these foam roses. I've got them painted white, black, and that vintage color. This scene also has that bluish gray color in there. And we're going to add our little air dry clay bat. And this one is done. And you can create different images and change them out. It's very easy to change them out. You're not dealing with the glass or anything. DIY number 3, interred in stone. So I have these 2 Dollar Tree coffin signs, and I had originally painted them black because I didn't know what I was going to do with them yet. So I'm going to actually build a mini coffin, and this will be my top and bottom. And all I did with that base was just kept rocking it back and forth until it came off, and I'm just taking my utility knife and cutting off the excess. A little sanding. Doesn't have to be perfect. Our overall coffin is going to look like it's made of stone. So these are the large size Jenga blocks from Dollar Tree. They're $3 for the bigger ones. And I'm going to use these to build up the height and some weight. Make it nice and sturdy, because these coffin shapes are just NDF. And I'm going to just take some wood glue and glue them together where they fit in between. It's kind of the outline is raised a little bit on these, so this has fit in between, and then the other shape fit on top, so it lines it up. So I'm just going to glue these together, and I've just got 2, or they're going in opposite directions. They're standing up on their sides the first time and then laying flat the second layer. And we're just going to glue those together. Luckily, they line up pretty well and fit the shape pretty well. And then we're going to glue one to the other end. And these don't have to be perfect. They're not going to show. This, again, this is to build some structure and strength and get the height that I want. And we're just going to build a little piece for the bottom. I already glued this in, as you can see there. And then I had to cut a little notch. Once I glued it, I had moved it a little bit where it was a little big. But again, it's just NDF. My utility knife, I just cut a little notch so it would lay flush with the bottom. And I cut a similar notch in the piece that's going on top. And we're just going to glue that in place, and then we're going to glue the top on. That Type-On wood glue is good stuff. And I'm just going to line it up, make sure it fits down in where it's inset a little bit. Match it up, make sure it's lined up. And I'm going to let that dry for a couple hours. I put a little weight on it, let it dry. Now this is just a piece of cardboard that it's corrugated, so it folds nice. It's easy to fold, and it folds clean. It folds, it folds clean. It folds straight, wherever. And I just cut it to the width that I need, and I'm going to just wrap this around and hot glue it in place. You can use foam board, you can use popsicle sticks, whatever you want to use to build up the size. But I thought this would be quick and easy, and I'm ultimately going to cover the sides with joint compound, because again, we're going for a stone look, so this doesn't have to be beautiful, and those blocks are what makes it sturdy. So it doesn't have to be anything particularly sturdy, just something to fill in the hole, basically, because the any little gaps in it, the drywall mud is going to cover up. So I'm just going to keep going around. You see how I folded it in the appropriate locations before I started gluing it. And we're basically just putting the glue just down the inside. And once it's down in there, I did kind of fight with it to get it started. And once I got it to kind of hold in place, I went from the underside and squirted a bunch of glue underneath. So, and then it didn't quite come all the way over, so I just cut a little square patch and glued it in there. And I filled in any big gaps with hot glue. That's all I did. And again, it doesn't have to be pretty. And then this is joint compound. And we're just going to start spreading it on it just like icing a cake, pretty much. And we're going to get it on from one side, and then we're going to go from the other side and add it. And then we're going to take our utility knife and just scrape it to even it out a little bit. And you say I scraped it down a little too far. I don't want the cardboard showing. I mean, a tiny bit here and there is no big deal, but I don't want too much of the cardboard showing. So I go back and just patch where the cardboard's showing. So here it's all done, and we're going to let that dry overnight. I put it on top of a jar of paint so that the wet drywall mud wouldn't get all over the table. And this is my cake fondant molds. They're silicones. You can use hot glue in these. The air dry clay, forget it. All these details, there was no way. It wasn't working for me. So you want your hot glue gun on high, and you want good quality glue. And I just, basically, the only tip I can give you is fill in the tiny detail areas first, and then the bigger areas. And then go back. Once it starts to cool, it'll shrink a little bit. Then you just add some more glue in those places. And once it's cool, pop them out. And I've decided where I want to put them, and we're not really adding more glue to the bottom, we're just melting the glue. It's made of glue, so we don't want big bulges of glue underneath there. So once they're all in place, we're just going to paint the entire thing with my rich black chalk paint. And that's the folk art rich black. And once that's dry, we're going to do a second coat of texture paint. And this is 1 part paint, 1 part baking soda, about the same amount of each. Make sure you stir it together really well. And I just got this little disposable cup. And an old brush that is already a little bit rough. And we're not going to brush this on, we're going to dab this on. And I ultimately do this twice. And this will give that stone look. I like using this technique. It's fun to do. It comes out really cool. And I'm trying not to get it on top of my decorations. A little bit is going to here and there, but you don't want to blob it on there. It'll kill all the details. Now I've got a small brush and just getting up against them. Again, there's all these little fine details you've got to get in between. And it's all done. Look at that. I did two coats of the texture, because there's spots you're going to miss that you're not going to see till it's dry. And this is my vintage color. It's a gray blue chalk paint, and that's a Deco Art brand. I was having trouble finding the link in Amazon. I'll try again, because it's a really nice color. It's a very vintage look to it. That's why it's called vintage. And we're just going to dry brush and catch all the lovely details. I love how this turns out. This is just so beautiful, and it actually looks like stone, and it's got some weight to it from the blocks inside. So, and I'm just going to make sure I get up against all those little raised designs. I'm just pretty much dabbing it here and there, and then make sure you get the edges really well. That's where things are going to show the most distress, is the edges. And this one's done. And here we have our reveal. Got the little light on in the shadow box. And you can glue whatever you like in there. You can put something more permanent in there. You don't have to light it up. Thank you guys so much for being here with me today. I really appreciate each and every one of you. Don't forget to like and share and all the things. I'm getting close to my goal of 3,000 subs. And once I get there, we're going to talk about another giveaway. Come back and see me. Thanks again. Bye.